bjøッparagraph Björn Rune Borg. Born June 6, 1956, is a former world number 1 tennis player from Sweden. Between 1974 and 1981 he won 11 Grand Slam singles titles. He won 5 consecutive Wimbledon singles titles and 6 French Open singles titles, a record he held until it was broken by Rafael Nadal. He is considered by many to be one of the greatest tennis players of all time. During his relatively brief pro career, Borg won 41% of the Grand Slam singles tournaments he entered and 89.81% of the Grand Slam singles matches he played. His winning rate across all surfaces was 82.74%, and his winning percentage at Wimbledon was 92.73%. All are records. He is one of 4 players in the Open era to win both Wimbledon and the French Open in the same year and the only player to do so for 3 consecutive years. He is the only player to win 3 majors without dropping a set. He was the first male player to win more than 10 majors during the Open era. He also won 3 year-end championship titles, including 2 Masters Grand Prix titles and 1 WCT Final title. In addition, he won 15 championship series titles, the precursors to the current Masters 1000. Borg was the first player to earn more than $1 million in prize money in a single season, in 1979. Early life: Borg was born in Stockholm, Sweden, on June 6, 1956, and grew up in nearby surpassed currency. As a child, Borg became fascinated with a golden tennis racket that his father won at a table tennis tournament. His father gave him the racket, beginning his tennis career. A player of great athleticism and endurance, he had a distinctive style and appearance bow-legged and very fast. His muscularity allowed him to put heavy top spin on both his forehand and two-handed backhand. He followed Jimmy Connors in using the two-handed backhand. By the time he was 13 he was beating the best of Sweden's under-18 players, and Davis Cup captain Lennart Bergelin cautioned against anyone trying to change Borg's rough-looking, jerky strokes. They were effective. Career: Borg joined the professional circuit at age 14. In 1972, at the age of 15, Borg became one of the youngest players ever to represent his country in the Davis Cup and won his debut singles rubber in 5 sets against seasoned professional Oni Paran of New Zealand. Later that year, he won the Wimbledon junior singles title, recovering from a 5-2 deficit in the final set to overcome Britain's Buster Mottram. In 1973, Borg reached a Wimbledon main draw quarter-finals in his first attempt. Just before his 18th birthday in 1974, Borg won his first top-level singles title at the Italian Open, becoming its youngest winner. 2 weeks later he became the then youngest winner of the French Open, defeating Manuel Arantz in the final in 5 sets. Barely 18 at the time, Borg was the youngest ever male French Open champion. In early 1975, Borg defeated Rod Laver, then 36 years old, in a semi-final of the World Championship Tennis Finals in Dallas, Texas, in 5 sets. Borg subsequently lost to Arthur Ashe in the final. Borg retained his French Open title in 1975, beating Guillermo Vilas in the final in straight sets. Borg then reached a Wimbledon quarter-finals, where he lost to eventual champion Ashe. Borg did not lose another match at Wimbledon until 1981. Borg won 2 singles and 1 doubles rubber in the 1975 Davis Cup final, as Sweden beat Czechoslovakia 3-2. With these singles wins, Borg had won 19 consecutive Davis Cup singles rubber since 1973. That was already a record at the time. However, Borg never lost another Davis Cup singles rubber, and, by the end of his career, he had stretched that winning streak to 33, a Davis Cup record that still stands. In early 1976, Borg won the World Championship Tennis year-end WCT Finals in Dallas, Texas, with a 4-set victory over Guillermo Vilas in the final. At the 1976 French Open, Borg lost to the Italian Adriano Pinatta, who remains the only player to defeat Borg at this tournament. Pinatta did it twice, in the 4th round in 1973, and in the 1976 quarter-finals. Borg won Wimbledon in 1976 without losing a set, defeating the favourite Elina Florence Stars in the final. Borg became the youngest male Wimbledon champion of the modern era at 20 years and 1 month. It would be the last time Borg played Wimbledon as an underdog. Now Florence Stars later exclaimed, "We're playing tennis, he's, Borg playing something else." Borg also reached the final of the 1976 US Open, which was then being played on clay courts. Borg lost in 4 sets to world number 1 Jimmy Connors. Borg skipped the French Open in 1977 because he was under contract with WTT, but he repeated his Wimbledon triumph, although this time he was pushed much harder. He defeated his good friend Vitas Gerulaitis in a semi-final in 5 sets. In the final, Borg was pushed to 5 sets for the 3rd time in the tournament, this time by Connors. The win propelled Borg to the number 1 ranking on the computer, albeit for just 1 week in August. Prior to the 1977 US Open, Borg aggravated a shoulder injury while water skiing with Vitas Gerulaitis. This injury ultimately forced him to retire during a 4th-round match versus Dick Stockton. Through 1977, he had never lost to a player younger than himself. Borg was at the height of his career from 1978 through 1980, completing the difficult French Open Wimbledon double all 3 years. In 1978, Borg won the French Open with a win over Villas in the final. Borg did not drop a set during the tournament, a feat only he, now Florence Stars, and Rafael Nadal have accomplished at the French Open during the Open era. Borg defeated Connors in straight sets at the 1978 Wimbledon. At the US Open, now held on hard courts in Flushing Meadow, New York, he lost the final in straight sets to Connors. That autumn, Borg faced John McEnroe for the first time in a semi-final of the Stockholm Open, and lost to McEnroe. Borg lost to McEnroe again in 4 sets in the final of the 1979 WCT Finals but was now overtaking Connors for the top ranking. Borg established himself firmly in the top spot with his 4th French Open singles title and 4th straight Wimbledon singles title, defeating Connors in a straight set semi-final at the latter tournament. At the French Open, Borg defeated big serving Victor Pecci in a 4-set final, and at Wimbledon, Borg took 5 sets to overcome an even bigger server, Roscoe Tanner. Borg was upset by Tanner at the US Open, in a 4-set quarter-final played under the lights. At the season-ending Masters tournament in January 1980, Borg survived a close semi-final against McEnroe. He then beat Gerulaitis in straight sets, winning his first Masters and first title in New York. In June, he overcame Gerulaitis, again in straight sets, for his 5th French Open title. Again, he did not drop a set. Borg won his 5th consecutive Wimbledon singles title, the 1980 Wimbledon men's singles final, by defeating McEnroe in a 5-set match, often cited as the best Wimbledon final ever played, the only comparable match being the Federer-Nadal final in 2008. Having lost the opening set to an all-out McEnroe assault, Borg took the next 2 and had 2 championship points at 5-4 in the 4th. However, McEnroe averted disaster and went on to level the match in Wimbledon's most memorable 34-point tiebreaker, which he won 18-16. In the 4th set tiebreak, McEnroe saved 5 match points, and Borg 6 set points, before McEnroe won the set. RN served first to begin the 5th set and fell behind 15-40. Borg then won 19 straight points on serve in the deciding set and prevailed after 3 hours, 53 minutes. Borg himself commented years later that this was the first time that he was afraid that he would lose, as well as feeling that it was the beginning of the end of his dominance. He defeated McEnroe in the final of the 1980 Stockholm Open, and faced him one more time that year, in the round-robin portion of the year-end Masters, played in January 1981. With 19,103 fans in attendance, Borg won a deciding 3rd-set tiebreak for the 2nd year in a row. Borg then defeated Ivan Lendl for his 2nd Masters title. Borg won his last Grand Slam title at the French Open in 1981, defeating Lendl in a 5-set final. Borg has a 6 French Open Grand Slam titles record bettered only by Rafael Nadal in 2012. In reaching the Wimbledon final in 1981, Borg stretched his winning streak at the All England Club to a record 41 matches. In a semi-final, Borg was down to Connors by 2-0, before coming back to win the match. However, Borg's streak was brought to an end by McEnroe, who defeated him in 4 sets. Borg went on to lose to McEnroe at the 1981 US Open. After that defeat, Borg walked off the court and out of the stadium before the ceremonies and press conference had begun. There are reports that Borg received threats after his semi-final win over Connors. In later years, Borg apologized to McEnroe. The 1981 US Open would be the Swedes' last Grand Slam final. Major tournaments and tour organizers were enforcing a new rule by 1982, that players had to play at least 10 official tournaments per year. However, Borg wanted to curtail his schedule after many years of winning so often. Although he felt in good condition physically, he recognized that the relentless drive to win and defy tour organizers had begun to fade. Borg failed to win the US Open in 10 tries, losing 4 finals, 1976 and 1978 to Jimmy Connors, and 1980 and 1981 to McEnroe. He played on hard courts at the US Open from 1978 to 1981 and reached the final there on 3 occasions, in 1978, 1980 and 1981. He led 3-2 in the 5th set of the 1980 final, before losing. That match followed Borg's classic encounter with McEnroe at the 1980 Wimbledon. In 1978, 1979 and 1980, Borg was halfway to a Grand Slam after victories at the French and Wimbledon only to falter at Flushing Meadow, lefty Tanner his conqueror in 1979. He appeared only once at the Australian Open, at the age of 17, at which he lost in an early round. In 1982, Borg played only one tournament, losing to Yannick Noah in the quarter-finals of Monte Carlo in April. Nevertheless, Borg's announcement in January 1983 that he was retiring from the game at the age of 26 was a shock to the tennis world. McEnroe tried unsuccessfully to persuade Borg to continue. Retirement. When he retired, Borg had a choice of homes, a penthouse in Monte Carlo, not far from his successful pro shop, and a small island off the Swedish coast. Borg later bounced back as the owner of the bjø Borg fashion label, one of whose advertising campaigns asked Swedes in the pages of a leading national newspaper to fuck for the future. His label has since become extremely successful, second only to Calvin Klein in his home country. Personal life. Borg married Romanian tennis pro Mariana Simonescu in Bucharest on July 24, 1980. The marriage ended in divorce. He fathered a child by the Swedish model Jannik bjø, and he was briefly married to the Italian singer Loredana Berta. There were rumors of a drug overdose and an attempted suicide, which Borg denied. He narrowly avoided personal bankruptcy when business ventures failed. Failed comeback. In the early 1990s, Borg attempted a comeback on the men's professional tennis tour. In doing so, he grew his hair out as it had been when he retired and returned to using a wooden racket. He had kept his hair cut and used modern graphite rackets in exhibitions he played during the later 1980s. This time around, however, he was completely unsuccessful. In fact, Borg failed to win a single match. He faced Jordi Arias in his first match back, again at Monte Carlo but without practicing or playing any exhibition matches, and fell in 2 sets. In his first 9 matches, played in 1991 and 92, Borg failed to win a single set. He fared slightly better in 1993, taking a set off his opponent in each of the 3 matches he played. He came closest to getting a win in what turned out to be his final tour match, falling to Alexander Volkov. In 1992, Borg, 35, using a Donner graphite mid-size racket strung at 85 lbs tension, defeated John Lloyd, 37, at the Inglewood Forum Tennis Challenge. Borg later joined the Champions Tour, returning to shorter hair and using modern rackets. Memorabilia preserved. In March 2006, Bonham's auction house in London announced that it would auction Borg's Wimbledon trophies and 2 of his winning rackets on June 21, 2006. Several players then called Borg in an attempt to make him reconsider. Jimmy Connors and Andre Agassi volunteered to buy them to keep them together, and according to Dagens Nyheter, who had talked to Borg a McEnroe called from New York and asked, "What's up? Have you gone mad?" The conversation, paired with Connors and Agassi's plea, eventually persuaded Borg to buy out the trophies from Bonhams at an undisclosed amount. Distinctions and honors. Borg was ranked by the ATP Rankings world number 1 in 6 different stretches between 1977 and 1981, totaling 109 weeks. During his career, he won a total of 77 top-level singles and 4 doubles titles. Borg won the BBC Sports Personality of the Year Overseas Personality Award in 1979. Borg was inducted into the International Tennis Hall of Fame in 1987. On December 10, 2006, the British Broadcasting Corporation gave Borg a Lifetime Achievement Award, which was presented by Boris Becker. Borg was named one of the 10 most superstitious athletes by Men's Fitness, place among the all-time greats, with 11 Grand Slam titles. Borg ranks 5th in the list of male tennis players who have won the most Grand Slam singles titles behind Roger Federer, Pete Sampras, Rafael Nadal and Roy Emerson. The French Open Wimbledon double he achieved 3 times consecutively was called by Wimbledon officials the most difficult double in tennis, and a feat considered impossible among today's players. Only Chris Evert, Martina Navratilova, Steffi Graf, Serena Williams, Rafael Nadal and Roger Federer have managed to achieve this double since, and Rafael Nadal, Andre Agassi and Roger Federer are the only male players since Borg to have won the French Open and Wimbledon men's singles titles over their career. Elina Florence-Stars once said about Borg, "We're playing tennis, and he's playing something else." In his 1979 autobiography, Jack Kramer, the longtime tennis promoter and great player himself, had already included Borg in his list of the 21 greatest players of all time. And in 2003, Bud Collins chose Borg as one of his top 5 male players of all time. In 2008, ESPN.com asked tennis analysts, writers, and former players to build the perfect Open-era player. Borg was the only player mentioned in 4 categories: Euro defense, footwork, intangibles, and mental toughness. With his mental game and footwork singled out as the best in Open-era history. Borg never won the US Open or the Australian Open, losing in the final at the US Open 4 times. The only players to defeat Borg in a Grand Slam final were fellow world number 1 tennis players John McEnroe and Jimmy Connors. Even though it was then played on grass, a surface where he enjoyed much success, Borg chose to play the Australian Open only once, in 1974, where he lost in the 3rd round. Phil Dent, a contemporary of Borg, has pointed out that skipping Grand Slam tournaments especially the Australian Open was not unusual then, before counting Grand Slam titles became the norm. Additionally, another contemporary Arthur Ashe told Sports Illustrated, "I think Björn could have won the US Open. I think he could have won the Grand Slam. But by the time he left, the historical challenge didn't mean anything. He was bigger than the game. He was like Elvis or Liz Taylor or somebody." Playing style. Borg had one of the most distinctive playing styles in the Open era. He played from the baseline, with powerful ground strokes. His highly unorthodox backhand involved taking his racket back with both hands but actually generating his power with his dominant right hand, letting go of the grip with his left hand around point of contact, and following through with his swing as a one-hander. He hit the ball hard and high from the back of the court and brought it down with considerable top spin, which made his ground strokes very consistent. There had been other players, particularly Rod Laver and Arthur Ashe, who played with top spin on both the forehand and backhand. Yet Laver and Ashe used top spin only as a way to mix up their shots and pass their opponents at the net easily. Borg was one of the first top players to use heavy top spin on his shots consistently. Complementing his consistent ground strokes was his fitness. Both of these factors allowed Borg to be dominant at the French Open. One of the factors that made Borg unique was his dominance on the grass courts of Wimbledon, where baseliners since World War II did not usually succeed. Some experts attributed his dominance on this surface to his consistency, an underrated serve, and his adaptation to grass courts. Against the best players, he almost always served and volleyed on his first serves. Another trait usually associated with Borg is his grace under pressure. His calm court demeanor earned him the nickname of the Iceman, or Ice Borg. Borg's physical conditioning was legendary and unrivaled. He could outlast most of his opponents under the most grueling conditions. Contrary to popular belief, however, this wasn't due to his exceptionally low resting heart rate, often reported to be near 35 beats per minute. In his introduction to Borg's autobiography My Life and Game, Eugene Scott relates that this rumor arose from a medical exam the 18-year-old Borg once took for military service, where his pulse was recorded as 38. Scott goes on to reveal Borg's true pulse rate as about 50 when he wakes up and around 60 in the afternoon. Borg is credited with helping to develop the style of play that has come to dominate the game today. Career statistics. Grand Slam tournament and year-end championship performance timeline, records, all-time records. These records were attained in the Open era of tennis. Records in bold indicate peerless achievements. Denotes consecutive streak. Professional awards, ITF World Champion, 1978, 1979, 1980, ATP Player of the Year, 1976, 1977, 1978, 1979, 1980, see also. Borg-McEnroe rivalry, Borg-Connors rivalry, list of Grand Slam men's singles champions, list of Swedish sportspeople, tennis male players statistics, tennis records of all time, men's singles, tennis records of the Open era Euro men's singles, world number 1 male tennis player rankings, paragraph RN Borg, notes. References. Bibliography, Borg, paragraph RN. The paragraph RN Borg story. Chicago, H. Regnery Company. ISBN A0-8092-8184-8. Borg, paragraph RN. Eugene L. Scott. My Life and Game. New York, Simon & Schuster. ISBN A0-283-98663-8. John Barrett, editor, World of Tennis Yearbooks, London, from 1976 through 1983. Michel Sutter, Vainqueurs Winners 1946 Euro 2003, Paris, 2003. Sutter has attempted to list all tournaments meeting his criteria for selection beginning with 1946 and ending in the fall of 1991. For each tournament, he has indicated the city, the date of the final, the winner, the runner-up, and the score of the final. A tournament is included in his list if the draw for the tournament included at least 8 players, and the level of the tournaments was at least equal to the present-day challenger tournaments. Sutter's book is probably the most exhaustive source of tennis tournament information since World War II, even though some professional tournaments held before the start of the Open era are missing. Later, Sutter issued a second edition of his book, with only the players, their wins, and years for the 1946 through April 27, 2003, period. Video, The Wimbledon Collection Euro Legends of Wimbledon Euro Björn Borg Standing Room Only. DVD release date, September 21, 2004, run time, 52 minutes, ASIN, B0002HODA4. The Wimbledon Collection Euro The Classic Match Euro Borg vs McEnroe 1981 Final Standing Room Only, DVD release date, September 21, 2004, run time, 210 minutes, ASIN, B0002HODAE. The Wimbledon Collection Euro The Classic Match Euro Borg vs McEnroe 1980 Final Standing Room Only, DVD release date, September 21, 2004, run time, 240 minutes. A scene, B0002HOEK8. Wimbledon Classic Match, Gerolatas vs Borg Standing Room Only, DVD release date, October 31, 2006, run time, 180 minutes, ASIN, B000ICLR80. External links, paragraph RN Borg at the Association of Tennis Professionals, paragraph RN Borg at the Davis Cup, paragraph RN Borg at the International Tennis Federation, paragraph RN Borg at the International Tennis Hall of Fame, Official Wimbledon website profile, BBC profile, Sunday Times article July 5, 2009, online video interview for Czech TV.